What's up, droids? We're live again. Can you believe it? We are live again. Welcome back to the dojo. Today we're going to do something different. We kind of came out of something we did yesterday, but it's about AI, okay? We're going into AI again. No game dev today. We'll get back to that. But today we're going to talk about documents embedding in GPT. So yesterday we looked at private GPT. I want to look at the code for that. It's open source. We had some problems with it, didn't quite understand how it was working, didn't seem great. But then we're also going to look at an alternative, Code GPT. It's a website. Test around with that, see how it compares. And then I want to know how I could potentially alter private GPT to maybe use GPT-4 instead of a local model. I like the idea of using a local model, but I think that might be what's holding us back. And then there's also rebranded advanced data analysis in OpenAI's ChatGPT, which used to be called, like something with code transforming. I forget what it's called, but it was very confusing to people. But basically, it uses Gen AI uses Python to write scripts to analyze your CSV files, other files too, but essentially CSV files, raw data. And so I think that's very much in line with what private GPT and Code GPT are doing, at least private GPT. So I pulled some random CSV data, and we're going to see how all these can handle that data. So first off, a little reminder of what private GPT was. So it's this open source project here. Interact with your documents using the power of GPT 100% privately, no data leaks, which in itself is a nice value proposition there. But how does it actually do it? So let's read the README here and get some understanding of how they sell it, and then we're going to dive into the code a bit and see how they actually do it, and we'll do some more testing of it as well. Okay, so this is what it ended up looking like. We were querying our documents that we uploaded, and querying documents versus LLM chat versus context chunks. So context chunks is basically like a search feature, essentially. You search for certain data, and it will return all the chunks from the file that includes that data or related to that data in some form. LLM chat just seemed to be straight up ChatGPT. I don't even know if it really used your documents or not. Query documents was more like ChatGPT that included knowledge from your docs. So I think LLM chat is just the baked in model without your docs, and then query docs is when they're embedded. And there was an API for it as well, which we didn't actually try. So let's read a bit about this. Private GPT is a production-ready AI project that allows you to ask questions about your documents using the power of large language models, even in scenarios without an internet connection. 100% private, no data leaves your execution environment at any point. The project provides an API offering all the primitives required to build private, context-aware AI applications. It follows and extends the OpenAI API standard and supports both normal and streaming responses. The API is divided into two logical blocks: a high-level API, which abstracts all the complexity of a retrieval-augmented generation pipeline implementation. Ingestion of documents, internally managed document parsing, splitting, metadata extraction, embedding generation, and storage. Chat and completions using context from ingested documents, abstracting the retrieval of context, the prompt engineering, and the response generation. And then there's a low-level API, which allows advanced users to implement their own complex pipelines. Embeddings generation based on a piece of text. Contextual chunks retrieval, given a query, returns the most relevant chunks of text from the ingested documents. What is this? Embeddings generation based on a piece of text. Okay, so I'm aware of embeddings. You don't retrain a model with your documents, you embed your documents. And so it would take forever to actually retrain a model. Like, if you don't know, models are trained on the internet. All the data available to them. Gigabytes, gigs, hundreds, thousands of gigabytes, I don't know, tons of gigabytes of data. And they don't include your documents, obviously. And if you wanted to retrain them with your documents, most likely your documents would get ignored, or they would be like so unimportant to all of human knowledge that I doubt even if ChatGPT had your documents, if you queried it about it and said, what did I do last Sunday? it's not going to read your calendar, even if it had it, and find that out. It's based on what the most likely answer is to your query, and it doesn't know anything about you, doesn't prioritize your information by default, right? So retraining a model to ingest your documents wouldn't even make sense. But embedding your documents, that seems to be the way people are handling this problem. All right, in addition to this, and if I had to guess how it works, it's like if you set a role for ChatGPT. If you go, hey, you're not just OpenAI's ChatGPT, or you're not just Bing or whatever one you're using, but you are a data scientist, and your job is to analyze data that I give to you. Then it's going to be in that context, right? And then they probably somehow minify or somehow ingest the data in a way that it's can keep in its context without losing, without running out of tokens. I don't know how it works technically. We're going to find that out. All right, in addition to this, a working Gradio UI client is provided to test the API, together with a set of useful tools such as bulk model download script, ingestion script, documents folder, watch, etc. Need help applying Private GPT to your specific use case? Let us know more about it, and we'll try to help. We are refining a Private GPT through your feedback. Disclaimer, this README is not updated as frequently as the documentation. Okay, we might have to go there. Please check it out for the latest updates. Generative AI is a game changer for our society, but adoption in companies of all sizes and data-sensitive domains like healthcare or legal is limited by a clear concern: privacy. Not being able to ensure that your data is fully under your control when using third-party AI tools is a risk those industries cannot take. Primordial version. The first version of Private GPT was launched in May 2023 as a novel approach to address the privacy concerns by using LLMs in a complete offline way. This was done by leveraging existing technology developed by the thriving open source AI community: LangChain, Llama Index, GPT-4all, Llama CPP, Chroma, and sentence transformers. That version, which rapidly became a go-to project for privacy sensitive setups and served as the seed for thousands of local focused generative AI projects, was the foundation that Private GPT is becoming nowadays. Thus, a simpler and more educational implementation to understand the basic concepts required to build a fully local and therefore Private GPT-like tool. If you want to keep experimenting with it, we have saved it in the Primordial branch of the project. It is strongly recommended to do a clean clone and install this new version of Private GPT if you come from the previous Primordial version. Present and future of Private GPT. Private GPT is now evolving towards becoming a gateway to generative AI models and primitives, including completions, document ingestion, RAG, pipelines, and other low-level building blocks. We want to make it easier for any developer to build AI applications and experiences, as well as provide a suitable, extensive architecture for the community to keep contributing. Stay tuned. So, question: can I swap out the LLM used by Private GPT? So if this is what it says it is, right? It's like a tool for, it literally says right here, a gateway to generative AI models and primitives. So it's a gateway to generative AI models, meaning I can use different models. Like if I just want to test out a model and I want a chat interface, I download a different model, like the Llama one or whatever it is from Facebook, and I just put that in and then hook it up to the UI, and then now all of a sudden I can chat with that model offline. If I could do that with, I don't think we could do that with ChatGPT 4. I don't think that model's public, unless I'm mistaken. The other question would be, can I interface with a model that's in the cloud? So GPT-4, OpenAI's API. Obviously not private anymore and costly, but if all the open source models that are available for offline use are just terrible, and we wanted to do embeddings, but we wanted our own tool, maybe this is the way to do it. I mean, I could also see writing a plugin for ChatGPT on OpenAI that would basically do the same. So we got options, but first thing, I want to know if I can just swap out the model. And I want to know what model is actually embedded in this thing. What model do they use now? Okay. Full documentation, architecture. So conceptually, private GPT is an API that wraps an RG pipeline. It exposes its primitives. The API is built using Fast API and follows OpenAI's API schema. The RG pipeline is based on Llama Index. The design of Private GPT allows to easily extend and adapt both the API and the RG implementation. Some key architectural decisions are, depending on injection, decoupling the different components and layers. Nice. Dependency injection. Usage of a Llama Index abstraction such as LLM, base embedding, or vector store. Make it immediate to change the actual implementation of those abstractions. Oh, so you can change the LLM. You can change the vector store, which is, I think, where the documents go. Base embedding might also relate. Oh, or you can do one or the other. Okay. Simplicity, or I don't know, that might just be a bad missing column. Simplicity, adding as few layers and new abstractions as possible. Ready to use, providing a full implementation of the API and RAG pipeline. Main building blocks. APIs are defined in private GPT server API. Each package contains an API router.py, fast API layer, and API service Python. The service implementation. Each service uses Llama Index-based abstractions instead of specific implementations, decoupling the actual implementation from its usage. Components are placed in private GPT components. Each component is in charge of providing actual implementations of the base abstractions used in the services. For example, LLM component is in charge of providing an actual implementation of an LLM, for example, Llama CPB or OpenAI. Oh, maybe you can't use the OpenAI one. Maybe 3.5 is free. I don't know. Contributions are welcomed. To ensure code quality, we have enabled several format and typing checks. Just run make check before committing to make sure your code is okay. Remember to test your code. You'll find test folders with helpers, and you can run tests using make test command. Interested in contributing to Private GPT? We have the following challenges ahead of us in case you want to give a hand. Better RG pipeline implementation, improvements to both indexing and querying stages, code documentation, expose execution parameters such as top P, temperature, max tokens in completions and chat completions, expose chunk size in ingest API. I think they did include, I don't quite know what all these are, but I think they had a percentage when you do the chunk querying. It will actually tell you like how close, like what percentage that chunk matches your search. Expose chunk size and ingest API. Again, this is the old docs. Maybe we should be reading this. Add information about tokens, consumption, and each response. Implement update, delete document in ingest API. Yeah, they didn't have delete in the UI. I don't know if it's still on the API too. I had to just go delete the file yesterday. Add to completion APIs, chat, and completion. The context docs used to answer the question. Yeah, I want to know what docs I use to answer the question when I do the query. That's true. In model field, return the actual LLM or embeddings model name used. In model field, return the actual LLM or embeddings model name used. Yeah, I want to know. That's true. Features, implement concurrency lock to avoid errors when there are several calls to the local Llama CPU model. I definitely saw, didn't I see crashes yesterday? Or that was Unreal. I think this also had an issue. API key-based request control to the API. Core support for SageMaker, support function calling, add MD5 to check files already ingested, select a document to query in the UI, better observability of the pipeline. Project infrastructure, create a wipe shortcut in Make to remove all contents of local data. You know what, I feel like I could do that. Accept, get, ignore. Packaged versions as a local desktop app, Windows Executable, Mac app, Linux app. Dockerize the application for platforms outside Linux. Nice. Document how to deploy to AWS, GCP, Azure. Join the conversation. if you use private GPT in a paper, check out the citation file for correct citation. You could also use the Cite This repository button in this repo to get the citation in different formats. Here are a couple of examples. Cool. All right, I feel like I got a much better understanding just reading that. That's a good start. 4 hours ago, are people putting up PRs for this? Disable Gradio Analytics, endpoint to delete documents ingested. Nice! A file that is ingested will be transformed into several documents that are organized into nodes. This endpoint is deleting documents, bits of a file. These bits can be retrieved thanks to the endpoint to list all the documents. Also added logs from the scope of the PR. This guy wants changes. They already resolved them. Here is the way to fix it. Llama Index has a built-in function to delete documents from the index. Fix me. The documents are only deleted and not the vector store. Tapped it. Thanks a lot. I'm no big fan of this. It is making any error that may happen internally, not only not found errors. I let it crash, especially in this early stage of the project, so my proposal is to remove the try catch altogether. Removed. It was done in the first place to return 404 whenever the underlying implementation wasn't able to find the document store behavior from the lib. Given the recent changes, this is indeed not necessary. Cool. Well, if you fixed your things, can we approve it? This was 7 hours ago. Let's look at the code. So we got the main Python file. He moved the comment inside. Okay. Nothing else changed. Import logging. Logger.loggy.get logger name. Local index store not found. Create a new one. Files not found. So just add some logging. That's cool. Appreciate that. Ingest writer delete. Ingest doc. Ingest delete the specified ingest doc. The doc ID can be obtained. So this is the new API. And this is inside of a router. Ingest router. Cool. Logging. Load index. Get logger. More logging. Delete. Load the index from the store nodes, override true to be able to delete them. Load index from store, storage context, store nodes, override true. Delete the document from the index, index.delete. Save the index, self.storage context persist. Cool. Nice little PR. I'm already learning a bit about it. No expert in Python, but that's why we have ChatGPT to help us out. Copilot. I do wonder if there should be a test for this. Bum, bum, bum. Let's do that. Let's look at the code and see if there's tests related to store component. All right, we already pulled the code. I want to see if has it changed today. Pull requests closed 5 hours ago. SageMaker embedding. Support for an embedding model deployed in SageMaker. Disable ChromaDB anonymous. Information collection. Update. README. When running to privacy, this was spotted in the logs. Yes, they're not supposed to. It's private, guys. Not supposed to take telemetry. SageMaker config and chat methods. Oh, that was last week. Okay. This is a small enough project. I could probably... I've never contributed to open source, I'm sorry to say, but maybe this will be my first. Right, so this is Python. We can get PyCharm. I have this plan that I may not execute to use IntelliJ for every stack that I work with. But JetBrains offers tools specific to Android development, Java development, C# development, Python, Rust, whatever, right? WebStorm for web. And I tried using IntelliJ for web and stuff, and even with the proper packages installed, it just does not seem to work. Like the most basic thing, like searching for files, like in the project structure, it doesn't recognize the project structure, at least in some examples that I tried. Ruby, you gotta use the Ruby, what is it called? It's Ruby Mine. So we're just gonna install PyCharm and use that. I'm paying for it, might as well use it. If you're a Visual Studio Code person, that's very similar to what I was saying about using IntelliJ for everything, because Visual Studio Code editor requires like plugins to work with different stacks. Some people are just straight up in editors without all those plugins, like Vim and stuff. I very much welcome code completion and all the bells and whistles that you get from JetBrains IDEs. I could see myself using Visual Studio Code. I've used it before, but I prefer JetBrains. At least when I have my shortcuts configured properly, because they change them in different versions, different types of the IDs have slightly different shortcuts, which I hate. But I'm going to make a key map export at some point. All right, we're going to try to open this. I think I put it, where did I put it? Honestly, I don't remember. Somewhere in documents, right? AI, there we go. All right, now we're coding. That's the same README. Oh, and poetry. Setting up poetry environment. Yeah, so that was one of the tools we had to use to run this thing. Poetry. Never heard of it before, but it is a thing. Error running poetry. There's a plugin for poetry. So, cool shortcut. Command-Shift-A for actions, and you can pretty much do anything you want. Open Windows, open Settings, open your key map, open Plugin Store, whatever. You just search for it, and there you go. And we're going to look for poetry. Don't even know what it does. I just know we used it the other day. Mend advise for PyCharm. Get the insights you need when you need them most. The extension provides full visibility over your open source components, real-time security alert, and actionable. Yeah, that's not it. What is poetry? Sounds like a philosophical question. It is not. What is poetry command line tool? Poetry is a tool for managing Python packages. It can be used to install, upgrade, or uninstall packages, as well as create. So how's that different than pip? All right, well, let's see. Yep, see, I already have a problem with my shortcuts. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to IntelliJ. I don't know that I set it up properly, to be honest, but we're going to export. We're going to export our what's the word? Key map from IntelliJ. And we're going to use that because, check it out. I think in IntelliJ, this is one of the Flutter project from 2 streams ago. If I hit Command T, it takes me to the terminal. That's what I just tried to do and failed in PyCharm. If I hit, let's see, open file, or open class, yep, those shortcuts got them mapped to my memory. Command 1, that's not quite what I want. We'll have to tweak this. Oh no, yeah, project, there we go. Command 1 is projects, Control T, refactor. Control T, yeah, okay, so it's got the keys that I most use. So we're gonna again go to the key map this time, and it's never the first one. It's never this one. It's this one. You got to give it a second to load. Preferences. All right, and this is a copy of macOS, so I must have changed it. But we're gonna export this guy, and we're gonna give it a cool name. Can I just rename it? We'll call it Randroids V1, because I'm going to edit it. I know I'm going to edit it. And we're going to, oh yeah, so I looked this up once. It's not super intuitive, but you can't just, it's not super obvious how you export a key map. So I had to actually look this up. I went digging, and then there was already an easy way to do it after the fact. Settings sync. Ooh, enable settings sync. Does that do what I think it does? Select what settings to sync. UI settings. Key maps. Hell yeah. Plugins. Sure. Tools. Enable sync. IntelliJ, all JetBrains IDEs. So let's kill PyCharm. I don't want to sync what I have in PyCharm now. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so much easier if I don't have to export and import it. Oh, there it is. All IDs. Okay, apply. Okay. And now let's open PyCharm. Oops. Sync. What was it called? Settings sync. Plugins settings sync is on. I don't want to toggle it. I want to open it up. This guy. Enable settings sync. Configure. Push settings to account. Get settings from account. Yes. Downloading plugins. Thanks for installing. No problem. Let's restart. Close out IntelliJ. What can I go by for PyCharm? Get code suggestions in your editor. You can receive suggestions, Copilot, either by starting to write the code you want to use or by writing a natural language comment describing what you want to do. Use the suggestion panel to view multiple suggestions. Personalize your Git Copilot experience by editing the settings and customize your keyboard shortcuts. All right, cool. Here we go. Moment of truth. Command T. Haha, we got my terminal. Okay, we were going to try to run this guy. That's probably in the README. Oh, actually, can I just go to the main? I don't think I can, but let's try it. We'll go to main. Which one is it? This one. All right, set up poetry environment. There we go. Doesn't like it. Error running poetry. Command output. We're going to search for this. PyCharm error running poetry. Poetry environment, PyCharm documentations. Install poetry. Mac OS. So let's make sure we have poetry installed. Poetry-v. That didn't do version. Capital V? Really? You're going to do that to me? 1.7. So it's installed. Create a poetry environment. Do one of the following. Click the poetry interpreter selector. Or Python interpreter selector. Python interpreter. Add new interpreter. New interpreter. Command comma to open settings and go to project name Python interpreter. Click add interpreter. Click Python interpreter selector and choose interpreter settings. Click add interpreter. Select add local interpreter in the left hand pane of the add Python interpreter. Select poetry. Try the redesigned packaging support for Python packages tool window. Sure. Python console. Well, I don't know that that new window is doing anything. So we're going to go back to switch, interpreter settings, and add interpreter. Add local interpreter. And then we're going to choose poetry. Install packages from project.toml. Heard of a YAML, heard of a XAML, never heard of a TOML. The specified Python version 3.96 is not supported by the project greater than or equal to 3.11. Please choose a compatible version or loosen Python constraints specified in the pyproject.toml file. Okay, so one of these things need to be upgraded. Is Python version 3.96 newer? Is poetry old? We're going to Google this. Python poetry version support. All right, I probably should have said compatibility, but whatever. There we go. Poetry requires Python 3.8. We have 3.9. Installation. Poetry should always be installed in dedicated virtual environment to isolate it from the rest. So I think the problem is we're not using pyenv in PyCharm. Maybe. Python interpreter, project structure, Python interpreter, show all. How to use pyenv in PyCharm? That's my next question. How to use pyenv in PyCharm. I know what it is. I think I did yesterday with pyenv. I did a local version switch. I might need to do a global version switch. Let's see. PyCharm interpreter. How do I connect my Python? Yes, that's what I want to know. How are you trying to add libraries using pip? I just clicked on file, new project, set up preferences for new project, Python interpreter, plus, or add a library. I also tried directly using pip. Okay. Looks like maybe it is not a PyCharm issue, but maybe some same as this one. A program install requires at least try first upgrade pip. What helped me upgrading pip? Okay. Go back to the terminal and we'll say which Python? No Python. Okay, I think we just need to do pyenv some useful pyenv commands, pyenv version, pyenv commands, pyenv global. Set or show the global Python version. Pyenv global. System. What does that mean? Pyenv local. See, local is set, and the global one is using the system Python, which is usually really old. So we're going to do pyenv global 3.11. Then we'll say pyenv global. There we go. Now I can set up poetry and see if it just works. Nope. Okay, I'm going to go to switch interpreter. Interpreter settings. Python. Add interpreter. Local. Pip. Pip executable is not found. So instead of using this one, can I use pyenv? It doesn't say. Pyenv 3. It's using base install using base user pin Python. I don't know if that's correct. Existing environment. There we go. Library caches poetry virtual environments. We can try it. I don't actually know if that's what we want. That might have been because I had already created it. So it was cached. But how would I have done it if it wasn't already created? It's definitely using Python 3.11.6, which is good. Okay, we might be in business. Might have problems with our next Python project. Who knows? Bum, 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 bum. All right, updating skeletons. I've got skeletons in my closet. while that loads, let's look at the file structure. I want to look at the tests. They're using conf test. Never heard of it. This is to prevent a bug in IntelliJ. Settings. Server. So they have a test for settings. And then let's look. Remember, we were looking for ingest. The ingest test. Ingest routes, maybe. So remember this PR that we were looking at. I should ask this guy if he wants to pair on writing a test. Ingest router. Ingest service pi. Yeah, none of these are the tests, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. So ingest router has a new route called ingest router.delete. So what we want to do is we want to see what other routes already existed. So test ingest accepts. Oh, so that's the test. I want to look at the routes again. Where's the actual routes? Are they imported? Test fixtures, helper, adjust public path? No. Okay, we'll look for them ourselves. Models, scripts, tests. Where's main? Not in models, I don't think. Local data, I wouldn't think. Private GPT. And then in here, there was not, was it server? Ingest router. Okay, so here's the router. It had a get and it had a post. So let's look at our test side by side. This is a test ingest accepts text files, test ingest accepts PDF files. That must be a post. But how do they, are they doing a get as well? Let's see. So they're saying the path is parent. So we got to look at the fixture most likely to figure out what this means. Ingest result equals ingest helper dot ingest file. So ingest file must be doing a post. Does a v1 ingest post? So is there an ingest helper that does a get? There's not. So we're already missing a test on the get. Maybe we add one there. I'm not. You know what I would love to do? I'd love to use Copilot and say, help me write, or like one of these guys, CodeGPT maybe, generate unit tests for selected code. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So password. Why do you need my password? Oh, I need my open API key. Yeah, do I even have that here, to be honest? Okay, well, we'll do this. Yeah, CodeGPT uses OpenAI. I think I have like $100 in there, so it should be fine to use it. But I need my password for my Mac, which I don't have memorized. Got it. Okay. And then, actually, one second. Because, yep, just as I feared. Cool, we're back. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're going to use CodeGPT. That was our plan. Here we go. He's writing our test. Enable telemetry later. In the test, we use a test client from the Fast API test client module to simulate HTTP request. They do use Fast API, so that's good. We mock the ingest service dependency using the magic mock. See, I don't know that we need to mock it because they already have this helper that probably does the mock for us module. We then override the dependency in the Fast API application with our mock service. We send a GET request to ingest list endpoint and assert the response status code and body. We also verify that the list ingested method of the mock service was called once. Remember to import the necessary. Okay, so let's look at the test. Cool. All right. So let's look at what they recommend for a test. First off, this does not take into account the existing test. Please rewrite taking into account ingest helper.py. I doubt this is going to work. And test ingest routes.py. To write tests for the given code, we can use the PyTest framework in Python. We will need to mock ingest service dependency and verify that's the correct response of the return. First, let's assume that the code you provided is in a file called ingest routes.py. We will create a separate file called test ingest routes.py to write the test. Here's an example of how you can write tests for the list ingested function. All right, well, let's compare it to our actual test. So they have an annotation here called ingestRouter.get, which I think comes from the Fast API. They're not doing that in their existing tests. So instead, well, unless it's in the helper. Let's look in the helper. Does this use Fast API? PyTest. It does. Fast API test client. So did this use test client? It did. Cool. But also use a mock. These guys don't use a mock, do they? Private GPT server, ingest router, ingest response. Okay. Ingest helper, test client, test client, ingest file, ingest response. Okay, so when you ingest a file, it's going to return an ingest response. The files equals file. This is in the response. Path.name, path.open, RB. Response equals self-test client post. So they're posting to the actual test client and the files they're providing. Okay, so this is the input, not the response. Okay, so they're saying here's a fake file. Actually, they're opening a real file called RB. Does that exist in their fixtures? Let's check. Test.pdf, test.text. Where's RB coming from? Let's see if there's a file called RB. RBF. What is RB? Open path RB. What am I missing here? Anyone see it? Anyone see what I'm missing? Is there chunks called RB, chat called RB, embeddings called ingest? Okay. RB. Files path RB. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's still passed. Let's do this. Let's do it. Let's run the test. It's still installing Python packages, so maybe not yet. But if you run the test and change this to some random string and it still passes, then this means it's not actually doing anything. Or it's just creating a brand new file, probably. It's creating a brand new file when it's trying to open a file. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, let's see what path they pass the test, or pass into this. So test helper ingest file path, and the path is test.text, which does exist. They're doing parents 0. So this test is inside ingest, and they're saying give me the path to the parents ingest and /test.text. And the other one is /text.pdf, right? Yep. Okay, so I get how they're getting the path. I still don't understand the RB bit, but okay. And unless that's inside the file. No, okay. And then the result of ingesting the file includes data equals 1. Oh, the length of the data equals 1. This is kind of a bad test, right? Is this actually testing anything? So what is it? What does the helper return? So cool, awesome. Let's see. Test.client.post files. Okay, response status code 200. So it's just going to say, okay, it works every time. They're basically doing their own mock here. Or no, sorry, I misunderstood this. This is asserting that the response is 200. So the actual test helper is doing an assert. Okay, fine, I guess. So it does really call, but it calls the test client. So maybe it's really setting up a router. I don't know how this test client works. Like really setting up like a system to make the real call, but locally. And then the response does a model validate on it. Why? Validation if the object could not be valid. So, but yeah, this basically will also assert if the response is not valid, not valid in the way they expect. Sure, I guess. It's like they have secret asserts in their test helper. I don't know if I love that or not, but okay. Response.json. So then they get the JSON of their response, and this is the response is of type ingest response that we saw here. Makes sense. It's got an object, a model, and data. And so then we know that they're taking the data part and asserting its length. They don't care about the object. They don't care about the model. I would think they would still want to test the model. I think we can enhance this test. Plus, who's to say that this... Actually, I don't know what the data looks like. I kind of want to look. I just wish this freaking Python package would finish installing. What does it really return is the question. It's supposed to return a list of the ingested docs. So it's probably just like the file path or the name of the doc. So why are they asserting that it returns 1? Why don't they actually assert that it returns the name of the doc? So let's see. In the actual code for ingesting, in the ingest router, it calls on a post. It calls, takes the file. Let's read the comment. Ingest and process a file, storing its chunks to be used as context. The context obtained from files is later used in chat completions, and chunks APIs. Most common document formats are supported, but you may be prompted to install an extra dependency to manage a specific file type. A file can generate different documents. For example, a PDF generates 1 document per page. All document IDs are returned in the response. There we go. So it's a document ID that's being returned. Probably the reason they're not asserting it is because it's just a randomly generated ID. But I think what I would do is a couple things I think aren't being tested, right? Does it handle more than 1 doc at a time? They're just assuming it does, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe that breaks. And the other one is, do you care that the ID is like not null or is like a valid ID? Maybe they don't. We should see what we get back. We can finally run this test. All document IDs are returned in response together with the extracted metadata. Oh, also metadata. Okay, which is later used to improve context retrieval. Those IDs can be used to filter the context used to create responses. So I think we might be able to assert some of the metadata because this is a file that we created. It has metadata, unless that metadata changes for whoever checked it out, which I guess is possible. We'll look at that. And what else? Okay, so then it's root injector get ingest service. So this is the dependency injection. So say just give me an ingest service, and then that, which means their test must know how to ingest things as well, or inject things as well. If file name is none, then just return a 400, no file name. So we should actually test this. This is a real failure. Oh my God, there's so many tests missing. So I can write this one really fast. Here's the problem. It's going to fail inside the ingest helper though. Oh, but hold on. This is going to read a real file, which does have a file name. How could you not have a file name? I suppose if the file didn't exist, but then I think it would fail somewhere else. So we can say like, honestly, we could just do an empty string to see what happens. I might try to upload the whole folder though. Be curious. So I'm not sure if this is actually doing anything. I'm going to try to run this test. Okay, it failed. Oh, it's because it already exists. Test ingest accepts text files. Test ingest requires file. Okay, passed. Can we get a breakpoint here? Let's go debug. I want to see what the result looks like. See if we got some metadata. Certain just helper. All right, so let's see what the results has in it. So it does have a model. And then what was the other thing? It was data, model, and something else in the results. You know what I'm talking about? Results. Where was that guy? Results. What's it called? Oh, response. So not results, response. This guy. Object, data, and model. So there's the data, there's the model, there's the object. The object is a list. Is it always a list? Looks like it, right? It could just create the default. And then this is hard-coded to private GPT. So we could assert those two things. But then your test would fail if you ever do anything else. But can these be overridden is my question. Who creates these? So they set them again here, even though they're already set. This is on the get. So when we test the get, we'll check. We can like maybe pass it something else. Though these are not parameters of the call, so these are basically still hard-coded. And then here's the post. Yeah, so even though they have defaults, they're just rewriting these. So maybe we clean these up to not specify that. I don't know. These should be, you should be able to get these though. These should be parameters on the call. So if you want to use a different model, you should be able to do that in the API. Maybe that was one of the things they want to build. I don't know. Definitely some room for improvement here. But yeah, so we could assert those things. For now, let's say they don't want to assert that. I don't know. Okay, and then what else? Data actually did have one thing in it. And so this has an ID, doc ID. It is a UUID, so randomly generated, but it has some metadata. It has the file name. So we should assert the file name. Like there's no reason we shouldn't assert the file name. Because maybe it succeeds, but doesn't return back the file name. It's supposed to return back the file name. We want it to fail if it doesn't return back the file name. So I'm going to add an assert for that. The ID, I just want to make sure it has an ID. I don't really care. I just want to make sure it has a non-null ID. So let's change this. So instead of length equals 1, I mean, we can keep that. That's fine. We could also just do length equals 1 and data dot doc ID. How do I get the doc ID out of this? Is it not on data? Oh, data first, right? Does Python have a first? Does Python have first? I could just do data 0. And then we'll say equals. Instead of saying equals, we want to say it's not null or a string, non-empty string. So let's ask GPT. Go assert data assert doc ID is a non-empty string, right? And then Python. And then you're supposed to be able to generate using Copilot. I guess I could bring up the Copilot menu. Doesn't look like it's working. View Copilot settings, change keyboard shortcuts. It's not suggesting anything. Let me type assert. It's checking the length of the doc ID. Yeah, it's greater than 0. I feel like there's a better way to do that, though. Does Python really not have, let's just go to GPT. Does Python really not have a way? Python check if string is non-empty. You can place your string here with the actual string you want to check. Would you like to see this in action? So you just check if it's true. And then I think greater than 0 actually is better. Tells you you're checking the length instead of just saying not false. It's kind of annoying. But I guess we could say assert true. Assert true. Do they have assert true? They don't have assert true. Assert true? What would they call it? How to assert true in a Python test. You just have to say result equals self.assert true. In the context of a testing framework like unit test or PyTest, assertions are typically done with the specific methods. So is it self.assert? Oops, self.assert. Not self. Assert. It's like the only assert they have. So we could write it this way. Probably don't even need that. You can do it that way. And this guy goes, you don't need this. What is it? What is the actual saying? It's saying it's false. Oh, I forgot it's debugging. if condition is true, or if condition. Assert if. I don't know what it's trying to say. It's saying pip comparison to true should be if condition is true. If condition is true, or if is true. I guess you don't need the if, you just do the assert is true. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so that's a long, sorry. Just getting comfortable with Python. Yeah, so either that or the length. I honestly don't like either one. I kind of just, what I would do if this was my project, but this might be too much for this open source project, would be to extract a function. I would do this. I would do, oh, can't do a function method. Okay. I would say then doc ID is not empty. I would do that, but people aren't gonna like that, so I'm not gonna do that. So let's vote. Who thinks saying the doc ID is true indicates that it's not empty versus saying the length of doc ID is greater than, I think greater than 0 is better. It's a little more wordy, but whatever. I'm trying to write idiomatic Python here. Okay, so that should pass. That's a little better because we're now asserting that it includes the doc ID, not that it just has one response. It did pass. And then the other thing we wanted to assert was not the doc ID, but the metadata, doc metadata. We want to check the file name, dot get, and then what's the name, file name or something. And then this is not an equals or a length check anymore. This is just check the file name equals, there. Let's run that. I don't know if it was called file name. We'll find out. Yeah, that worked. Cool. So just improve their assertions a little bit. Probably going to do the same thing with the PDF, except the PDF is going to be .pdf. Yeah, maybe people would, maybe someone would say, well, why do we need to test that? Of course it's going to always include a file name. And then my response is, okay, and if someday the code evolves and it doesn't return a file name, is that a bug? And you'll get some people that just go, oh yeah, that would be a bug. Well, then we want to test that would catch that. Second thing, they might say, no, it's not a bug. They obviously changed the code, so they don't want it to return. Okay. But do you want to assume that they changed it on purpose, or do you want the coder, the dev, to actually indicate that they changed it on purpose? Well, of course we want them to do it on purpose. Okay, so do you want them to just like put that in the pull request, or but just put it in the PR. Just let us know you don't want it to return file name, or I can tell by reading the code. So you want to have this extra step of knowing that they deliberately changed something instead of accidentally caused a regression, when you could easily just put it in the test, and that will tell you, because if they deliberately remove the file name, they will have to update the test. That will be their indication that they did it on purpose. So that's my philosophy. Okay, so that's just a small improvement. And then we were going to write a new test so I wanted to see if this would actually pass. This is supposed to test a piece of logic we saw here. Not here, not here, not here, not here, here, somewhere. So before you post, they check that it has a file name. it doesn't have a file name, it throws an exception. So this should fail, but I want to see what kind of failure it gives us. Does it fail on the test creation part? Because we don't really want to fail there. Ingest results, ingest file name. Yeah, I think it's trying to open up the directory. By the way, RB means is the mode. That was not obvious to me, so I would love to fix that. Do they have named parameters in Python? I would love to say mode equals, because it's just like, I thought that was the file name they're opening. Like, what the heck is that? Mode R. So R is probably read. RB is probably read buffer. Open the file in bytes mode, read it, and close the file. Or bytes mode. Okay, not buffer, bytes mode. Yeah, so they don't have name parameters. I would just have to have checked that. But that's really annoying. Because as someone who doesn't know the API, doesn't know what path open does, this looks like a file name. Which is weird because, yeah, whatever. Okay. So yeah, that blows up because that's not a real file. So we need to put a real file, but I want it to not have a file name. Now, how is that possible? It feels like this is not even possible. If it ever gets here, it's gonna have a file name. If it's a file, it has a file name. Am I crazy? Is there any way to remove the file name from a file? Let's go into the helper and see. So this is the name. Dot name, path, dot name, path, dot name, path, dot name. This is the name. So it's going to have a name at this point. Can it possibly lose the name after it creates the file? I just feel like that's not a thing. Like, what if we created the file and then remove the file? Like, it's not possible. Am I crazy? I just don't think that's a possible failure. So why are they checking for it? I guess something gets lost in rest and in transit. Whatever. It's just feels like an impossible thing. You can't test it, then it can't happen, right? I'm trying to find a way that I could fake that even. It just doesn't make any sense. Let's look at what this looks like. So at this point, files as a file, as a string, which is the name, and it has the actual contents. So maybe we could, after it's created, can we alter it? So what if we say files equals files dot get, or files 0 dot, can I change it? Can I replace it? It's probably not writable, right? I want to remove a file name before I send it. So at this point, it's an actual file. So I'm just looking inside a file. I don't think you can change file names. So one thing we could do is, this is a list of files. We can make a single file, right? Let's pull this out into a single file variable. This should be file. Why is it named file? That was a terrible extraction. Why would it do that? Or I guess we could say file equals. That work? Cool. And then can we change it? Can we say file dot index dot count dot file 0 dot, alright, name, partitions, format, find, rename, replace, replace test.text with nothing. I don't think that's how that works. Files just empty string, I think. Files is just empty. Yeah, so that's not gonna work. Well, let's see how far it gets. Okay, so the test passed. The test passed. So it still returns 200 even though I gave it an empty string. That seems weird to me. So in this case, file name is upload. So it just uses the word upload if you don't give it a file name. Let's put this back to the way we got it. Okay, and I'm curious. Now does it have a file name? It does. So if you don't, this exception is doubly not possible. So I don't know, maybe it depends on what REST library you're using, but if I don't include a file name, if I don't include a file actually, the file name is upload, because file probably can't be null. Upload file has a default type upload, or where is it? Where does the word upload come from? File name. Yeah, somehow it just gets a default name. So I don't know. This is why we do TDD, right? You don't put in checks like code that will never be reachable, unless I might be missing something. Okay, maybe this is possible, but pretty sure this is never going to happen. All right, well, I made my point. I don't actually want to change anything here. We'll let it be. Back to the test. The test we do care about. So I think this is already an improvement. But then the PR we were looking at, not this one, doesn't have a test for delete. Oh, we realized we don't have a test for get. We were going to do that first. So let's do a test for get. Okay. So I should be able to get a PDF. How do I do that? Test ingest gets fetches all files. All right. I want 2 files. Can I get 2 files? Okay, let's see. That's the test we want to write. We don't need to create a path. So for ingest file, it's actually, we want an ingest read. Let's look at the get. So instead of calling /ingest, we want to call /ingest list. So let's create another one of these, and we'll call it ingest get. This is ingest helper, so we can just call it get list, and then it's ingest / list, and there is no files, and it's not a post, it's a get. Okay. All right, you don't need a path either. Do we need a path? No, it just gets everything. Okay. Oops, what happened here? What was this? I don't know. All right. What? Why is that indented like that? Just response, cert response, there's no response. Why? Why is this so confused? There. I hate that Python is white space aware. So annoying. Formatter should have caught that. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Get a response from the get call of list. Should be a return of 200, and the result should have something in it. This is saying it's a valid response. That should still be true. Let's go back to our test. So now we could say ingest file, and we'll say get list. I guess we could say get files. That might be a better name, but whatever. Okay, get list. No path. And I expect that to return nothing because there's nothing set up in the data or in the test, data, whatever. But let's run it and find out. Okay, let's see why it failed. Probably these asserts, but maybe something else. Assertion error. Yeah, failed in the length. Okay, so what did we actually get back? Okay, data. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has 6 test files already. So somebody's not cleaning their cache. How could this have 6 test files? That means this is like not restarting or something when we test. That's insane. Let me see if I run it again, if it gets 7. It's probably only when I run these. Oops. Still 6. All right, cool. So if I run this again, it's only the text ones, which is funny. Is that because I only run the text? Let's run the PDF one. Now it's 8, and one of them should be a PDF. There's PDF. Page label 1. Ah, more metadata. So there's actually a better test we could write that accounts for PDF split. So remember in the docs it said when you upload a PDF, it actually breaks it into multiple docs if it has multiple pages. So what we really want is a test PDF that has 2 files. And then we want to assert that it has metadata for both. Or gets 2 responses. I'm not sure. Let's put that as a to-do. Where are you? Go away, go away, go away. Gets, annotates. Okay. Let's put that as a to-do. To-do. Test metadata for page count. Something like that. And then this guy is not deleting its cache between runs. How do I fix that? How does this test helper even work? This uses fast API test client. We want to reset it between tests. Reset between tests. If you convert main.py to use an app factory pattern and store your state in the app rather than in the global like this, create app, fast API, my state, then you can have PyTest fixtures that create per test instance of the app and test client in conf test.py. Yeah, we need to do that. What if we could just clear it? What's this, like, recreates? I guess we could look. So on a init, self test client equals test client. Maybe we just recreate the ingest helper each time. So we get the ingest helper passed in. How does that get passed in? I know we're importing ingest helper, import ingest helper. Huh. Okay, I'm going to try something. Def reset. Self.test client equals. But this is being passed in on the init too. Where's this coming from? Okay, well, let's not do that. Let's create a new ingest helper each time. Can we do that? So what if we don't pass this in? What does it require? A test client. How do I get a test client? That's auto magical, I bet. Path lab test features. Just help. Where is this coming from? Just helper. Here it is. Just helper. Return just helper. Test client. But who calls this? Fixture. How does this PyTest inject a test client? That I don't get. Explain this. Explain yourself. Where is it? Achieving completions. I don't want completions, I want explanations. So there used to be, what plugin was that? This one explains code. I thought, I think that's only in Visual Studio Code that Copilot will explain your code. Like Copilot X or something. Do they not have Copilot X for JetBrains yet? Copilot X JetBrains. Oh, you know what? I think IntelliJ has their own. What is theirs called? Something bot, maybe? That's the Android one. What is IntelliJ's new bot? IntelliJ helper. AI assistant. AI assistant. This guy. JetBrains. There we go. Gotta log in. What? Did it crash? No. Explain code. Can't access AI-powered features that can't explain code. This is update. Go to your browser to complete signing in. Explain code, AI. Why do you keep 404ing? Not the blog. I don't want the blog. Not currently available to all users. I should have received an invitation. Well, we'll check our email. I think I wanted to be on the wait list a while ago. Let's find it. AI assistant. Don't see an email. Let me check my other email. Don't see it. there a wait list? Please note that they're performing from because events will be adding folks from the wait list as of the day. Yeah, where's the wait list? Assistance. Wait list. This is what I want, explaining code. I don't think so. Yeah, it's Copilot X that has that. That was 2 months ago. Indeed, users in the waitlist cannot log in. The local host page is the redirect to which you're sent after the login process. With login difference, I then change the localhost to one in the params value, which name is. It has been over 3 weeks, and I have yet to receive confirmation email to access difference. Please help me to fix this issue. If you're in the wait list, you need to wait to be accepted. There's no other fix, and unfortunately, we don't have a specific time frame. I'm in the waiting list for over a week now. This is normal. We don't have a specific time frame. I don't know. I just want to get on the waiting list. I thought I was, but maybe I'm not. How to get on the AI assistant JetBrains waiting list. Here it is. Jeez, why do I make that so dang confusing? Alright, chat. If you want to get on the wait list, this is where you go. Cool. I thought I already done that, but guess not. Well, I suppose the email could have come from some weird thing. Let me try one more time. Okay. All right, and then Copilot X, just to confirm, is not in JetBrains yet. Let's see if this works. Very slow, but okay. Let me try this guy. I'll just use my token if it works. Did I actually install that? No. Dang it. What about CodeGPT? Does this one work? Does this one? Click start. Download the plugin. Get started. Choose your preferred service. Open it. Open AI. After successful installation, configure API. You navigate to the plugin. Settings. Getting started. Select the model depending. Blah, blah, blah. Start the server. Apply settings. If you're already a feature, the plugin provides several key features. Ask anything you'd like. Select and ask. This is what I want. Ask anything related to your selected code. Yeah, how do I get to that? So I just select first. Again with the passwords? I should have said always allow. Let's try it. Well, whatever. Okay, explain the code. This code is written in Python, uses the PyTest library. It defines a fixture named adjust helper. It helper class. Here's a step-by-step breakdown of the code. The PyTest fixture decorator is used to define a fixture in PyTest. Features are functions that provide test resources or set up testing environment. Yes, yes, yes. The ingest helper function is defined with a single parameter test client of type test client. The parameter is used to create an instance of the ingest helper. Inside the functions, an instance of ingest helper is created by passing the test client parameter to its constructor. Finally, ingest helper instances return of ingest helper. Fixtures are commonly used by PyTest to set up test data and resources that are required in multiple tests. In this case, ingest helper fixture provides an instance of ingest helper. Okay. How does it get test clients? That's what I don't understand. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Obtained through dependency injection. In PyTest, fixtures can receive other fixtures as parameters. When a test function or another fixture depends on the ingest helper fixture, PyTest automatically resolves the dependencies and provides the required fixture instances. In the case, the test client parameter of type test client is passed to the ingest helper fixture. The test client fixture is expected to be defined elsewhere in the test suite. Oh, so I just need to look for this. There it is. Thank you, AI. You're so helpful. That just creates. See, how do you tell this to create a new instance? How to create a new instance each time the fixture is used. So I need a factory for this fixture. Auto reuse true parameter. Decorator. This ensures that the fixture is automatically used for every test that depends on it. A new instance is created for each usage. Why would auto use create a new instance? Here's an example of how you modify the code to create a new instance each time to fix auto reuse. True. By adding auto reuse, the fixture will be invoked automatically for every test that depends on ensuring the newest. Okay, we're gonna do it. I wonder what the overhead is for this. The other option is to create a factory method like this, like that other chat said. App, fast app API. Is in our code, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. right, if that worked, we should get back no files. We got back 8 things. Didn't work. Okay, well, we're going to try the other one as well. Auto use. I feel like it should be false. Am I crazy? Why is it true? We'll do this one too. Let's delete. Well, I say we go the other route then. Okay, it's called, it's the fast API instance or the test helper instance or the test client. I guess that is fast API, or the app itself. So I think it was, which one was it? Test the client thing, right? Fixtures, test. This guy creates an app. So we need this app to be a factory. So is there a quick way to make a factory in Python? We'll find out. Okay. Python creates app factory method for tests. Sorry, not factory method. Factory. Create app factory. App name file. Ew. What did we search for earlier when we found what we wanted? We were saying PyTest recreate, or like clear data, clear app data before each test. It's not a database though. Can you use it in all test helpers? Let's try it. Open the ingest helper. Can I put this here? And then instead of db cleanup, we don't want to delete all the files. So to do that, we might say something like clients, tests, clients. I wonder if we can just inject the test client. Bet we can. Test client dot. We could delete, but there's got to be like clear all. Close maybe. Does that actually work? Can I just close it? So you have to create a new one. still 8. Close doesn't do it. We really want to just restart the app itself. Can I get access to the app through the test client? Probably not. That would be bad. Can I inject the app? Self, test client, test client. What was that other one? Oh, because I added auto reuse. Auto use. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, auto use is false. Let's look at resets. New. So this app comes from this here, which comes from start fast app server. Let's see. Fast API, self, app type. If open URL. This is a mess. Setup. If self.openURI URLs open API. I just wonder if this is not getting set up anymore. Okay, so this gets called. Does it actually execute this stuff? None. Oh, none, and so that one's set. What did we look up before? Was it the test helper that we were trying to clear? Get a new test helper. Get a new app every time PyTest runs. Okay, let's start fresh. PyTest, get a new app for every test. It's like test API, test client. Fast app, this guy. Use test client first install, pip install, import test. Let's see, factory, resets, cache, separating test. Let's say you have a file structure, testing file. Memory. Come on, it's got to be answerable. Not asking the right questions. Okay. My fast API test clients Python test is remembering data from previous tests. Let's see what it says. Ask questions. Okay, so it's possible the data to persist between tests if your database or application state is not being reset correctly after each test case. This can lead to unexpected behavior and false positives and negatives in your test. Here are some steps you can take. Reset the database. After each test, reset the database to clean state. I don't think it's a data. I think it's just files. Could we see the files? Like, are the files somewhere? Like local data, tests, document store. It's here, right? It's like, what if I just delete this whole folder and rerun? Okay, there's nothing. Good. And then let's run one test and we'll create some data. Oops, I gotta put this back down. It was. Okay, and now if I run this guy, yeah, I can see it. It has data now. Okay, so the cleanup should be to remove this folder. Let's do that. Just helper, cleanup, and then delete test folder, local data test folder. How do I do that? Using the file system, I guess. So we create a new file here. So can we do path.delete? So we could use this guy. Do path parents. So that would just take us to here. We really want to get to the root. So maybe, how do we get to the root? Let's look at this. It's not running cleanup. I thought this was automatic. Is it not? Okay. Help me delete a folder at my root after every test. All right, clean test folder is a fixture that will run once for each test. Okay. If OS path exists, folder path. didn't actually run. I wonder if this is going to make it run. How does this run before? I don't understand how this runs before versus after. There's nothing here that says when it should run, other than this maybe scope function thing, right? Clean test folder. This is exactly the same code, is it not? Clean test folder function yields. I'll put the yield later, I guess. If exists, you just run it twice. Oh, this is after, so before versus after. I guess I should do it before, and then do I actually have to call cleanup in my test? Is that what I'm missing? I didn't see him do that though in his test. It doesn't say. Yeah, in other testing frameworks, they have like a before annotation, before test, whatever. This one doesn't seem to have that. All right, cleanup call directly. I was saying I shouldn't call it directly because it's ingested. Or it's injected. Called directly. Fixtures are not meant to be called directly, but are created automatically when test functions request them as parameters. That's what I'm missing. How can I request it as a parameter? Here it is. That's what I was missing. Okay, it's just a function name. Oh, Python. Cool. So that at least runs. I want to know what this is. Well, specifically this. So that's the current file. Makes sense. This gives me the current file's parent. Fixtures. But I want all parents. Does that work? I say parents 5. That goes back to documents. I mean, I can go up, assuming it's always going to be up like 3 levels. I don't know if that's a good assumption though. 2 and then dot. Yes, we'll do 2. And then we're going to go local data. Yes. I deleted it. Deleted it and failed. So why did it fail? Just result, just file path. Why doesn't that work? Just files, the client, ingest files, post. Where did it blow up? Handle request. So looking at cache. Exception. Okay, what's the exception? DB file. Is that what gets put in there? It's probably because I'm deleting it before the test, but it's creating the directory probably. So if I delete it after, that would help. But I also think we could just do this on the one that we actually care about, files, existing files. So let's try moving it. Yield here. Run it again. So it should get created before the test and then deleted after. It's probably happening so fast though. Okay, let's just debug it. We should see the file folder get created. I don't see it. It says it exists. I wonder if it's just out of sync. There's like a refresh button somewhere. Where is that? Reload from disk. There it is. Yeah, so it's there. The other thing we could do is we could just like document store, but I think to the whole point of this PR, or the comment that somebody left on that PR, it's more than just deleting the docu-store. I think there's more to it. So I'm okay with deleting it if it doesn't break the next test, which is a big if. So how do we run all tests? So we go to our test. Let's run this whole folder if we can. Run PyTest ingest. The last one's going to fail, obviously, but does this one fail too? This one failed too, probably for the same reason. Right, the DB thing. Okay, so we can't just delete that folder, but maybe we can delete the store. Delete the contents of the store, maybe? Test clients, test helper. So we'll do tests / what? It was it's not going to be here. DocuStore, Graph Store. Nothing in the Graph Store. There is something in the DocuStore. There's something in the Index Store. Maybe we delete both of these? See, I don't know if you can delete them outright. You might have to clear the data in them instead. We could try it though. DocStore.json. It's no longer a folder. Let's just run everything. Okay. So which one failed? Tear down. What? Oh yeah, I didn't like this tear down delete part. Why? It said probably because it's a file, not a folder. Doesn't really say not a directory. There we go. Cool. That's what I expected. Dot rm, not tree, just delete. Dot. Can I just delete the folder? Dot delete. Oh, come on. Oh, let's remove. All right, that worked. The only one that failed is this one. So let's look at that one. Oh, this should also have cleaned up. Or if we do the cleanup at the front, we could just do it at the end, I guess. Though I don't think this one needs to clean up because it's just getting. All right, so this returned 9 files. So there's more than just the doc store then. Something else that needs to be cleared out. Probably the graph store. Nope, index store, I mean. Okay, let's do the index store too. I guess we could do 2. This is the first one. Okay, try again. Well, that's better. Yeah, so that makes sense. Now it only has the ones created in this, so maybe I do need to do a cleanup. Are these not cleaning up after? Are they cleaning up before? Did I change that? So yields and then cleanup. What the heck? What is this? I changed it already. Whoa, what's going on? Huh? What? Oh, I must have cut what I meant to copy. That's freaking crazy. Okay, I need a break. 4. Now it's like it's not slating them at all anymore. They're in the database. So we need a way to clean up the database. So the only way to do that is to do a delete call, which is in that PR. That's so frustrating. Why can't we just restart the whole app? That would be nice. Could we do that? I know we haven't done that road before, but can we just reset the test client? Like this thing runs it before every function. What if we run this before every function? I guess the test client's still reused. That's back to 2. Okay, well, at least it's consistently 2 now. Let me try running cleanup. Oh, it's consistently 2 because I haven't run the other tests. Oh, no, this is running all tests. Weird. So if I just run 1. Run all of them. Okay, well, I don't understand how that's 2 every time, but it is. So maybe that did something. No, just stuck at 2. So it's deleting the previous ones. How's that possible? I guess between tests, it's the JSONs that will carry over. But the DB is persistent. But the DB also, maybe the DB is not, well, they have unique document IDs, so the DB should also be duplicated. Something's odd here. How to clear a chroma DB? How do they set up the DB? Chroma. I wonder if these tests clear out chroma. Create application injector. Still think we need that factor method. Where was that code that I saw that was like, you need to create an app factory? My pi tests are sharing states. How to clear okay, function, let's do the function thing on the other one, the app one. App equals that guy. Where this was called from, fast, this guy. Still 2. What if I remove the cleanups? Okay, it's back to duplicating them. Okay, what if I now delete the full folder again? So we go back, put this back to what it was. We're just removing the whole folder. Because if it's recreating the app every time now, I don't think it is, but if it works the way I want it to. Holy crap. Did that work? Or is this a different test? Okay, no, this is 6, but the other tests are fine, right? No, those failed too. Directory not empty. Yeah, that's why I did rmrf. Okay, so we need the shoe util rm tree. I'm going to build an open database. I don't want you to open the database. I want you to recreate it. What the heck? Why is that search not working? What the heck? Where's the test client? This guy. Fast API test client thing. Fast API tests clients. Fast API test client clear SQL client DB. First, we're going to new database session for the new application. New database. SQL. Is this set up somewhere? Are we setting this up in fast? Let's see. Chunks, body. That's chunks. It's just this. There's just too much going on here, though. Let's see if we could figure it out. Debug, false, routes. Set up fast API app with factory to recreate app for every test. That's what I want to do. Tell me how to do that. All right, let's see. Let's see what we can find. You have to recreate a flash first to run app from app factory. Server command uniform packaged and got type error missing one required position. We don't document an app factory style anywhere, and it's not supported. We'll run an app instance instead. App equals create app. Then my picture. I'm curious where the intent is coming from here, since Gorm doesn't use an app factory style either. Is there a particular Python firmware source? Let's see. Test. Factory need when you need test the app. If you use global app, then you get one app, but in unit test needs to create exactly this thing, please. Okay, reviewed, and I see where you're coming from. I'm used to using a 12-factor style, making sure the system environment variables are set up differently for testing. We could possibly accept an app factory flag, which changes the main callable from the app itself into an app function. Turn the app. Alternatively, you could instantiate the default application using the factory. So we can use this to create a different app instance for testing. Yeah, that might work. So if we do this, we go def creates app for testing, then return. I mean, I don't like this, let's be honest, but I'm just curious if this would get us unblocked. Okay. All failed. Expected 200, got a 4.4. So not right. It's like not running. Why would going from app to this? Is this not actually executing? Oh, because app's not set. You still need to set app because people look at app. So I guess I could just say app equals fast PI. But that's local. Or is it? Shadow's name from outer scope. Yeah, I want the outer scope one. I guess I could call app. How do I reset it though? Super. It's not gonna work. Oh, does that work? No. That doesn't do anything. Okay. I don't want super. I want this guy to be reset. I guess what we could do is this is not gonna reset it. I ran this myself. The main reason the team did not want to use app create app is that it would instantiate an instance whenever the module it exists in is imported, and we weren't sure we want that to happen. We got around it by creating a separate module from the import app, which we only use for testing changes locally. In production, we use Unicorn. Also, Unicorn does allow using an app factory function. Works well, reload does not. Creating application as global variable in some modules, worst ever possible option in the world. Mission 12 factor app has absolutely nothing to do with such style of programming. I think a lazy loading pattern ought to address your use case there. From factory import create app, lazy app equals init create lazy app. Run as cool things app. As usual, except the actual app will be instantiated on the first request, meaning you're not asking an instantiation import. Going to close this off for now. People thumbs down it. Application factories were added to Flask due to the need to having application creation a side effect of importing modules. It also allows having different versions of configuration of application existing at the same time, which is great for unit tests. This pattern extends further, and the settings are typically stored. I'm a bit surprised that this kind of pattern isn't encouraged and supported by Starlight Unicorn since it evolved as a response to a need. I've had some spare time, and I've created a small PR to support this case. I've read the contribution guide, and I feel bad not asking permission to work on this from the maintainers, but at this point the code was already done. Any updates? This was merged years ago. Nice. The factory flag allows loading the application from a factory function rather than an application instance directly. Factory will be called with no arguments and should return an ASGI application. UV core. What? No. Who calls UV core? Can this take a factory? It can. Good. Oh, you can do named. Okay. Why is it red then? You can't do name parameters. That's so weird. That's red. I mean, that's just the styling. It's bad styling if that's the case. And then we want to create. So basically, this should be. Maybe it'll still just work. Got it. Or I guess we could say fast app. You're having the same problem is that they use that app variable everywhere. Okay. Well, I put way too much time into this. They definitely should be using factor here. Their tests are lacking. In the meantime, let's move on. Let's take a step back. So we were wanting this to emerge because this lets you delete docs, which I thought was a very necessary thing that was missing. They can go ahead and merge this without a test, whatever. I'm not their maintainer, so that's fine. But also, if this gets merged, we could use it in the test, though I really don't want to. I'd rather them just figure out their app instance problem. Okay, but moving on. I don't want to get any more distracted by that. I spent way too much time on that, but that's... Anyways, we learned something about Python. We learned something about this unicorn thing and factory methods. Okay, so did this get merged by the time while we were looking at it? No. Okay. So we want to enhance their tests. We're gonna go roll back a little bit to what we had. Let's look at the diffs. Show diff. We'll roll this back. We don't like that did anything. We'll keep the cleanup, but this only deleted. So these tests which breaks. So we want the other one, which is test slash. Well, that never worked. It kind of worked. Let's see, test dash. You know, we'll just shelve it as is. Don't know why that got changed. formatting. Okay. We're going to shelve this for now. All right, so we kind of got a little bit in the weeds. Okay, really in the weeds. But the whole point of this is we should be able to ingest docs and, oh, we want to see if we could swap out the language models. So let's look into that real quick. LLM equals. So we can see here they're swapping out between SageMaker, OpenAI. So here's the OpenAI one. Perfect. How do I do this? OpenAI. So does this just get hard coded? So it's a mode. Local. This is LM settings. So is there a settings? Let's try this. Git fetch. Git pull. And then we want to run. What was the command to run? Oops. Run the test, not that run. Nope. Run. This guy. This is supposed to run it. Oh, I just realized it said local. So I think I figured it out. So cancel this. Here, PGP profiles can be changed to OpenAI, which should fail because I don't have my key. No such file. Settings, OpenAI, YAML. So let's look for a settings YAML. Settings YAML. So before it must have been settings dash local. Settings dash profile YAML. So where's the file? Settings Docker, SageMaker, local. I guess we can just copy this, or maybe just change the mode here. Why is there not an OpenAI one, but they obviously support a mode for it? Let's do it. OpenAI. Okay, add that. So now it's going to be mad about the missing token, right? So the API key. Why are you doing that? Hold on, env name. Env. Maybe I just need to export it. So this should just do nothing, right? It should fail. Test. So it's trying to call OpenAI. It should say you don't have a token. Oh, I must already have one set. I bet I have one set. All right, I'm not going to show this on stream, but let's do a test. Not that one. If I open up a new terminal and I echo out, open AI API? No. Open AI API token. No. What are they looking for? They're looking for API key. API settings. API key. API key. Okay, that doesn't make sense. I don't have an API key. Where is this coming from? API key comes from string. Base model. I just don't know where this is coming from. OpenAI settings. OpenAI settings. API key. I didn't add this anywhere, did I? I do not remember adding this at all. There's no settings in the UI. This is really weird. How does it have my token? Let's check. How do I see usage? Today's the 5th. Well, I have been making calls, but I guess that doesn't really tell me anything. I used $3. That's insane. $8 p.m., 9 p.m. The heck? It's not 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. I guess it must be a UTC. 9:40. So it's 4:44 right now. And it's using 3.5. I never use 3.5. So maybe it's using 3.5. Let's look. 3.5. Chat GPT. API. OpenAI. If you cannot run a local model because you don't have a GPU, for example, or for testing purposes, you may decide to run private GPT using OpenAI as the LM. In order to do so, create a profile settings OpenAI YAML with the following contents. API key. Yeah, I knew I was missing something. That's crazy that it worked, or supposedly worked. That makes me think there's another bug here. Maybe if it's maybe if it doesn't have a key, it falls back to something that it knows. Who are you? Large thing of a design to provide helpful responses to user queries. My purpose is to assist. What version are you? Not actually specific. Okay. How far back does your memory go? Did I? Did it cleared its results? Maybe it is OpenAI. All right. I don't know how this would be OpenAI, but we're going to put my key in. Oh, did somebody like leave their key? There's no way. I guess I could find the request. Where's the request? Oh, there was one. Well, that key's burned. When did I add that? Shoot. I guess I did. It was this one, wasn't it? IntelliJ. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, we're going to have to create a new one. I just burned it on stream. Okay. I just didn't realize I had already set that. I was looking for the environment name, and it was there the whole time. Okay, well, I guess I must have had it because of that's Copilot. Oh, CodeGPT uses it. All right, well, let me set it again. That's funny. Okay, fixed. So, question still stands. How do we know what version it's running? Local service. This is README. Loading files, or Python private GPT. Note this will still use the local embedding model, as it is okay to use it on a CPU. Will support using OpenAI embeddings in a future release. Oh, what? This will still use the local embeddings model, as it is okay to use on a CPU. Will support using OpenAI embeddings in a future release. Does that mean the documents querying stuff still uses the other model? Okay, let's try it. Yeah, run. So we dug into the code. We got really deep into the code today. We were looking at tests. That was cool. We did probably boring to watch, but got to go deep there. Learned a couple things. But we also we saw if we could hook it up to GPT's API, and that's what we're doing right now. And we didn't get to test CodeGPT's version of this or advanced data analysis, but I'm going to try some data analysis right now using this new thing, or using this local version, and I'm going to compare it to if I use the other model and see if it changes anything. So for this, we're going to use a sales tax allocation CSV garbage, whatever I got from data.gov. It is sales tax allocation by city for City of Austin. Sales tax allocation comparison summary reports present data on a monthly local sales and use tax payments to local jurisdiction. Yeah, so don't know what's in here really. We're going to find that out. So it's processing the file right now. It's a CSV. I don't know about private GPT and how it does embeddings, but apparently the advanced data analysis that OpenAI uses prefers CSVs, but technically works on other forms as well. Wonder how long this is going to take. Guess while it loads, I want to learn more about embeddings. I'm pretty sure it's just changing the prompt or something. The Gen AI step changes that similarity is no longer based on a simple keyword search, but instead on an ontological understanding where similar items are close together in the embedding space. Importance of embedding in AI. Oh, here we go. Understanding embedding in 1 minute. That's what I want, guys.
What is embeddings? With the rise of LLMs, why is it becoming important to understand how they work? In traditional IT systems, most data is organized as tabular data using simple keywords and labels in databases and search engines.
Yeah.
In contrast, AI-powered services arrange data into a simple data structure known as embeddings. Once trained with specific content like text, images, or any content, AI creates a space called embedding space, which is essentially a map of the content's meaning. AI can identify the location of each content on the map. That's what embedding is. And AI can put content with similar meanings closely together in the space.
Okay.
The real embedding space looks like this.
Whoa.
Here you can see the 3 million images are sorted by their meaning at human-level precision. Embeddings is the key technology for Google Search, YouTube, and so on to find highly relevant contents. In summary, AI can represent various contents with embeddings, enables the next-gen user experience.
Okay, thank you, Google Cloud Tech. Let's see. What about, how do you say, Gen AI embedding your own docs?
Embeddings and vector databases are essential if you're building any type of AI product. In this video, I'll go over what they are and how to use them with OpenAI and their APIs. I'll cover this in 3 parts. I'll explain theory, then the use, and finally integration. After watching this video, you'll be able to create long-term memory for a ChatGPT or perform semantic searches based on a huge database of PDFs connected directly to an AI. Let's start. There are 2 terms I'll cover: embeddings and vector databases. They work together. I'll begin with embeddings. What are embeddings? To put it simply, an embedding is data, like words, that have been converted into an array of numbers known as a vector that contains patterns of relationships. The combination of these numbers that make up the vector act as a multi-dimensional map to measure similarity. For a simple example, let me describe a 2D graph. The words dog and puppy are often used in similar situations, so in a word embedding, they would be represented by vectors that are close together. While this is a simple 2D example of a single dimension, in reality, the vector has hundreds of dimensions that cover the rich multi-dimensional complex relationship between words. Images can also be turned into vectors too, and it's how Google does similar image searches. The image sections are broken down into arrays of numbers, allowing you to find patterns of similarity for those with closely resembling vectors. Once an embedding is created, it can be stored in a database. A database full of these is considered a vector database and can be used in several ways, including searching, where results are ranked by relevance to a query string, or clustering, where text strings are grouped by similarity, and recommendations, where items with related text strings are recommended. Also, classification, where text strings are classified by their most similar label. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to just cover searching, since it would be the most commonly used. There are many practical ways to do this, but OpenAI has provided a great AI model to specifically create embeddings. It does not, however, provide a way to store them, which we will be using a cloud database for later in the video. Now, let's start making an embedding by accessing OpenAI. On the Google page, I'm going to browse OpenAI. I'm going to head over to the OpenAI website where I can create a new account or log into an existing one, which is what I'm going to do. It's free if you want to sign up. I'm going to log in using my Google credentials, and I'll be taken to a few options here.
They got rid of Dolly. It's like built in now.
I'm going to head over to your API page, and this will take me to the dashboard here. I want to start off having a look at the documentation on the embeddings, which you can find just over here, and I'll also link this in the description. But what we're going to start off with is creating some API requests for embeddings themselves. In order to do that, we're going to head over to the API references page. Here, under embeddings, is all the information to create one, and it's quite simple. It's a as easy as doing a single post request with some inputs and getting a response back. We could write code to do this or do it inside of a terminal, but the easiest way is inside of some GUI software. And this is called Postman. It's an API platform, and it's also the sponsor for today's video. Postman is a piece of software,
like Postman.
also a web app that's entirely free.
I think I
It
still
allows
pay
you to
for
do
it.
all sorts
I
of
haven't used it
API
recently.
requests. It's quite easy to get running. I'm using
probably
Windows,
set
so
it
I'm
up
gonna
on this
download
computer.
the Windows version of the application. Here I've launched it. The first thing I'm going to do is create a workspace for my API queries. This I'm going to call OpenAI Vector Database. There are a few different types of workspaces between personal, private, but I'm going to select the team one because this allows me to share out my workspace to other people in the future if I wanted to. For this new workspace, I'm going to open up a new tab, kind of like Chrome. Here I've got a few different options, but the main one here is the type of request, which can be a get, post, push. I'm going to do a post request. And here I'm going to get the URL that we're going to be using for the embeddings, which is just down here, and it's the api.openai/version1/embeddings URL. I'm going to paste this here in the URL section, and what's useful is that Postman is telling me that I do need authorization to use this endpoint for an API. I also have the instructions on how to generate one, so I'm going to head over to this OpenAI API keys page, and on this page I can select to create a new secret key. I'm going to label this embeddings, and then I'm going to generate it. Make sure you keep this key private. I'm going to copy and paste this into Postman, and I'll place it here in the API key section. Be aware, Postman allows any type of authorization. We're using the Vero token, which is how OpenAI authenticates. With all this set up, we can now create our first embedding, which is the easiest part. On the OpenAI website, under Create Embeddings, all the information to create a request is available. It only really needs two things, the model as well as the input. For the model in this example, we'll be using OpenAI's text embedding using ADA002, which is also the cheapest version. And for the input, it can be any type of text. So here on Postman, I'm going to head over to create this body request. Under the body, I'm going to select to pass in some raw information, and this will be in the form of a JSON object. I'll add in some curly brackets, and here I'm going to pass in the string for the model, as well as the string for the input. In true programming fashion, I'll have this input say hello world. And that's it. All that's left is to send this post request to OpenAI and its API. And here's the response. We've created our first embedding. Quite easy. And this is also the vector for the embedding down here. And if you preview it, it's quite a lot of numbers. Let me now show a few different types of examples of embeddings that could be created. There are single word embeddings. These are things like dog or cat, where the embedding is a single word and the embedding vector is generated when it's sent to OpenAI. These would be used in situations where you might want to perform a search. You can do multi-word embeddings too. So I could, for example, have a small sentence like OpenAI vectors and embeddings are easy, and this creates a more nuanced embedding, but for the most part, it looks the same to us humans. The strength of embeddings is where you chunk large bits of information together, such as paragraphs or entire sections of documents, to create an embedding that can be then later drawn upon when you search a database. And for some useful information, ADA version 2 allows for a maximum input of 8,000 tokens, more or less, which is around 30,000 letters or characters. And to give you an idea of how much that is, a page from a contract or a legal document can be up to about 3,000 characters on a single page. This means you could probably embed about 10 pages in a single request.
Nice.
To give you an idea of what this looks like, let me copy paste this entire page from this NDA contract. Then I'm going to jump into Postman and paste this here into the input, removing any line breaks or additional spaces. This gives you an idea of just how much is being currently embedded. And this embed request takes just about as much time as a single word. Now that we can create embeddings, we need to store them somewhere. OpenAI doesn't provide databases, so we'll need to create our own. And a database full of embeddings is often referred to as a vector database. I'm going to use a provider called SingleStore. They provide a real-time unified distributed SQL database, which also is quite easy to use since it's in the cloud. And on top of that, they allow for you to incorporate vector databases straight in there. So what we'll do is set up a database, and we'll start storing our embeddings and then also start searching through them. First, you want to set up an account. It's free and comes with additional credit, as well as the ability to set up unlimited databases. I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign in via Google. On the main dashboard, the first thing you'll want to do is create a workspace. And in here, we'll soon create a database. For your workspace, you can call it anything. In mine, I'm going to call it OpenAI Vector Database. I'm going to select the cloud platform for AWS, but you can also select a Google or Microsoft Azure platform. And for the region, I would recommend just picking the one that's closest to you, but I'm just going to leave it to the default on US West. Next, I'll select the button Next. On this page, I can set how fast the workspace is, how many CPUs, how much RAM it has, but for this tutorial, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to keep it at the bare minimum. I'll leave the advanced settings as the default and select Next. This workstation will set up in the background, and once complete, I'm going to create a database on it. Let me close these info panels. Here, we'll have the workspace on the left-hand side, and on the right side, I'm going to select Create a Database. I'm going to name this database OpenAI Database, and then select to create it. Once it's created,
so we don't really need this for what we're doing exactly right now because we're storing our stuff local.
SQL editor, where we can run some simple commands to create a table and then input some data. Make sure that on the top
that's that DB that wasn't getting reset in our test.
I'm going to select the database OpenAI Database. Now I'm going to write a simple SQL query. It'll be create table if not exist, and I'll have the name of the table as my table. Actually, I'll do my vector table. Here in brackets, I'm then going to put in the different types
I thought he
of
said my
columns we have.
vectorable.
The first will be the text,
But he
the
said
original text
vector
as
table.
a text type. The next will be the vector, and the vector will be a blob type. You can have different types such as integers and numbers and decimals, and you can even have a larger table with things like an ID and other attributes like a URL, but I'm keeping this nice and simple for this demo. Let's run this command, and this has created the table here. We can see a log below. I can head into the database and select it and view the table. Additionally, I can view the different columns as well as the data type. Additionally, I can head over to sample data to have a look at the rows which don't exist yet. Let's create our first row and insert a vector into this database. What I'm going to do is open up the SQL editor. In here, I'm going to write some new syntax to insert a row. This is insert into the table name, which is my vector table, then in brackets text and vector being the two attributes we want to fill, and then the values for those, which in this case will be the ones that we have in Postman. So I'm going to open up Postman here. I'm going to copy out this input, hello world, and I'm going to paste this here into the values. Next, I'll put in the embedding. Here, I'm going to pass in JSON underscore array underscore pack, which is necessary to turn it into this blob structure. And in here, I'm going to pass in the string of the array. This is in Postman here under embedding, and it's this huge block of numbers. I'll select to copy all of them, and then here in the interface, I'll paste them back in. And that's it. Now I simply have to run the command, and this should enter this embedding into the vector database, which it just has. Here we can see the results, one row added, and if I head over to the OpenAI database under my vector table, I'll be able to see under sample data this a new row has been added. Now it's time to add some more data, because we can't really have a database with just a single row. What I'm going to do is head back to Postman, search through the history of all the posts we've done so far, and pull out some of these examples to place in as rows inside of the database. So I've got this one here for OpenAI vectors, and embeddings are easy. I'll copy the input as well as the embedding straight into single store. Wow, it always surprises me how many dimensions there are to this embedding. Now I'll enter this and insert this row. Heading back to the database, I'll be able to view the sample data, and here it is. Let me try this one more time with a larger example. I've got this one here, which was the document, which had quite a few different characters in here, and the process is more or less the same. Copying out the text, then copying the embedding vector, and then finally inserting the row into single store. Let me show you the three rows that now exist. They're quite simple, but enough for us to start performing searches. Searching a vector database for embeddings is actually quite simple. The first step is to identify what you want to search for. So for example, we might want to search for anything related to OpenAI. Next, we have to create an embedding for our search term. In this case, we would create an embedding for the word OpenAI. And then finally, we would perform a search in the database against the existing embeddings. This would return a list with the closest similarity being at the top. Heading over to the SQL editor, I'm going to write this query by writing the following. Select text, which is one of the columns. Then I'm going to pass in dot underscore product, passing in the next column, the vector column, and adding in JSON underscore array underscore pack. I'll leave this empty for now, but this is where I'll add the array and then convert this to a score that we can use for ranking results. Next, I'll grab this from my vector table, and I'll order it by the score in descending order. This will be limited to just 5 results. Now, opening up Postman,
product
we
of the
need to create an
vector
embedding to
and
search. So the embedding term I want to use is OpenAI. This will create the vector here, which I'm going to copy out and then paste back into the SQL query. The SQL query will use this as a reference and use it as part of the scoring system. So let me run this and
So let me compare the
results.
two
Here's our successful
vectors.
search of the vector database against
See
the term
what-
OpenAI and all the other vectors that are similar to it. The
scores.
scores are ratings. Essentially, how highly ranked it is how similar it is to the content already in the database. I could create another search term
Nice.
embedding here called Hello Earth and use the vector that I receive as a search and have a try to see if this changes up the results. Pasting this into the query here on the vector database, I'll find that now Hello World is the top ranking result with a much higher score than all the others. And this is fundamentally how vector searching works. In this part of the video, I'm going to create an actual function using JavaScript on Node.js to interact with embeddings. First, let me create a brand new folder called OpenAI Vectors and Embeddings. Next, I'm going to do a fetch request to the OpenAI API. So here inside of the file index.js, I'm going to write in a small header here to connect up to OpenAI. In this header, I'm going to make the content type as application JSON, and I'm also going to pass in the authorization, which will have the key here as a bearer token, similar to what I did inside of Postman. The safe and secure way to do this is using an environmental key, but for this example here, I'm just going to pass in my token straight away to make life easier for myself. This, of course, is something you want to keep secure, and after this video, I'll be deleting this key. Now to create the function, I'm going to create a async function, and I'm going to call this create embedding. It's only going to pass in one item, which will be the text, and this is the text that we're going to embed, and I'm going to use this to pass to an API. Now I'm not going to use Axios or anything like that, I'm just doing a regular fetch command here. So I'm going to pass in let response equals await fetch. I'm going to pass in the URL for OpenAI's version 1 of embeddings, which is just /v1/embeddings. Then I'm going to pass in a couple of parameters. This will be a post request. I'll set the method here as post. I'll pass in the headers that we just defined earlier. And then finally, I'll pass in the body, which I'm going to JSON stringify. And this is the post data. Now, there's two items here, just like before. The model itself, which is the text embedding ADA model. And the second item is the input, which is the text we want to embed. Next, I'll listen to see if there is a response from the server, and that response is okay.
I want to see
And then I just want to
they use
console log
this
it out
text
and return it
embedding
as part of this
data
function.
model.
Here I'll write response JSON, so it'll turn it into a JSON object, and then I'll pull out the data from that. I'll console log out the data, and then I'll return the data. This function is now complete. So what I'm going to do is call it to test it out. Here I'm going to call create embeddings and just pass in hello world. Next I'll open up the terminal and run node index.js to run this function. And just like on Postman, this embedding gets returned quite quickly. We can see it just over here with the array here on the right hand side, and we can plug this into a database next. What can we do with this? Well, there's quite a few things. You can import a PDF library to read PDFs, chunk them, and then store them in a database so that they could be retrieved later and searched through. You could do the same for websites, or you could do the same for all sorts of things. If you've stayed until this point, you definitely want to learn more about OpenAI. Check out my new book, Teach Me OpenAI and GPT. This is a digital book I've put on sale for $49 that covers everything from how to use the OpenAI API, how to do fine-tuning, and much more in a really visually interesting and fun way. It's over 48 pages, and it's in the description below. These were just the basics. If you want to learn more, have a look at my video here on integrating OpenAI, a database, and even a web app together. And if you haven't already, this is the end of the video, so don't forget to hit a like.
What is the cheapest way to generate embeddings? And the best way for that matter. Naturally, with OpenAI blowing up lately, many of us are using OpenAI's embedding models to generate embeddings for our projects. And for good reason, their latest model, text embedding Ada 2, performs quite well and it's dirt cheap. They are $0.0001 per 1,000 tokens as of June 13th, 2023. So that's very inexpensive, but are they really the best? There must be other models, ideally open source, that exist, right? What if we want to self-host the embedding models? Can't do that with OpenAI, really. Or what if we don't want to depend on an external API like OpenAI? Maybe we don't want vendor lock-in. Maybe we need to work completely offline. That's a totally valid use case. Or maybe you're just looking for which embedding model actually performs the best. So yes, they do exist.
Okay, I think I kind of get it. So just in general, though, how are the embeddings created by LLM model creation different than ones added by users? I wonder if how image models produce embeddings. You feed an image to the model and look at the activations in one of the last layers of the model. I don't think this approach generalizes to LLM models, though. For example, let's say you embed a document using GPT model. I can envision the embedding getting calculated in a variety of ways. I'll use one of the last layers in the LLM model. The LLM produces an embedding for each output token in the document and averages all of the tokens embeddings to arrive at a document level embedding. The LLM returns only the last tokens embedding. The LLM concatenates all output token embeddings where the embedding size is equal to the context length. Shorter documents with leftover context window get padded, perhaps with zeros, so that embedding dimensions are constant across all documents. Is there a broad pattern that most model says in those of the GPT variety use to produce embeddings, or are the methods wildly different from, say, GPT-3 to Llama 2? This approach doesn't generalize to GPT like autoregressive models, but it is exactly how BERT and some models generate embeddings. Getting embeddings from Llama 2 would be a lot of work, but can be done. You need to fine-tune the model, though, and the results typically aren't as good as the BERT or T5 gives you. Found a helpful research paper by OpenAI that answered my question. Generative autoregressive models aren't well suited for embeddings because their understanding of the input is spread out over multiple hidden states. You need to train a model whose specific purpose is to produce embeddings. Typically, this is the transformer encoder, and in such cases, you take the hidden state from the last layer of the last end of sequence token. This means that the model's understanding is concentrated in a single place. Relevant excerpts from paper below. Autoregressive models. That's different, right? Retrieval augmented. Okay, cool. Auto regressive. Okay, never mind. All right, connection closed. Uh-oh, did I lose it? Let's see. Did it not complete? Because remember, I was sending something. We lost that, didn't we? Where did you go? Speaking of Dolly, it's from yesterday. Let's try reopening. I'm not sure if this finished or not. We're gonna run it again. All right, so document's there. Let's query it. What do we want to ask about this? So I heard you want to like think of it as writing code. So like you want to write code that like when you're doing a data migration or something and you want to smooth over the CSV, the data to, pull out bad data or categorize it or repurpose the data or whatever. So you need to like query, I don't know, can we just like query all cities, for example? Start there. Give me all cities. The thing is, does this use just the embedding? Does this also do LLM chat? Like, I don't know. Do I have to say give me all cities in the sales tax application? Okay, async generate array stop async. Okay. All cities in sales tax. Oops. Sure. Here are the cities listed in the CSV file. I know this is wrong because these are not Texas cities. Please let me know if you have any further assistance. It just made that up. Lies. I think something's wrong with this file. Let's try context. Let's say Leander. Yeah, it just broke. Maybe we gotta re-add the doc. So local data. If I just blow it up. I think I just blew it up. Delete. Try again. Maybe I need a smaller doc to start with. Let's try that. Let's edit the doc to be smaller. Whoa, this is huge. We're gonna do this differently. We're gonna do this. Let's see if we can do this. Did that work? Deletes. Huge set of data. Still pretty big, right? But let's start here. Save as. Partial. Okay, yeah, that's a huge doc. We're not really testing the limits of this thing yet. Or as far as like size goes, we are testing the limits as far as how smart it is. But that's something different. Okay. Oh, I didn't name it CSV. Dummy. Dot CSV. it. I think it saved as the wrong file type. Okay, we're going to try something else. Delete this one. Edit the raw CSV like I should have in the first place. Sure, we'll use Xcode. Why not? Loading, 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 loading. Dang, that took forever. Okay. Same problem. So big. Where do we? Let's find Leander. Nice. So from here to here. Bye. How big is this? No, it's better. Save as. What? That's not it. Is that it? I didn't put the CSV. Okay, it is CSV. It's just not showing the file name for some reason. Okay, cool. Much better. Let's see. If I just say Leander and get a chunk back, does that work? Whoa, super fast. Okay, so that should have gotten me the data about Leander. Let's see what it returned. Yeah, so monthly, I don't know. Hold on, let's look at the first one. That doesn't say Leander. So 42225, like where is it getting? Is this like similar, like stuff that's similar to Leander? Okay, that one matches Leander. Oh, here it is, Leander. Okay. I can't really read this. Let's look at a bigger doc. You know what we're gonna do? Oops, I didn't mean to clear that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use a Scratch file. Scratch. JSON. Paste. It's not JSON. Lame. It is JSON. Why is it so ugly? So the first one that it returned was huge. So it's a window. Is it just like a chunk of everything before and after it? Is that what it was? I don't know. I don't know what querying, or I don't know what chunking does then. All right, but for querying docs, let's see. Tell me about the numbers for Leander. Error. All right, we're gonna try one more thing. We're gonna start up with not OpenAI. We're gonna start up with local again. And see if it works there. Maybe the OpenAI stuff doesn't work with embeddings. I don't know. Nope, still fails. So it's something to do with the dock. Can I see the error? Encountered an exception in writing response to history requested tokens. Exceed context window. Too big, probably. How can we narrow it down then? I guess we can just try one more time with the smaller dock. All right, we'll use Berryville. How's the file still here? Oh, it's not. Okay. Something like partial. Why? There it goes. Much smaller. Berryville. Okay, it's telling me stuff about Berryville. Tell me about their sales tax. Do not have information about Berryville. So that's not true. You do. I gave it to you. I gave you information. So let's see. What are the headers here? Net payment, the period, comparable payment, prior year, percent change. I guess we could say, tell me about the payment this period. Tell me about Berryville payments this period. I could say, what city had net payment? What city had a net payment of Hey, okay, we're getting somewhere. Whew, that's crazy. We could say, what city had a net payment lower than? Oh man, it can only give direct information. It's because it's got to be the vector thing, right? So when it finds that exact number, it's like, oh, you're 100% talking about Clute, right? But then it tries to take my question and go, which city had it lower than? Or I could say, how about this? List the cities by their net payments, with the largest being first and the lowest being last. It's probably a better way to say that. Order them, I guess. Here's a list of cities in descending order based on their net payment. So they were the highest. Is that true? Let's check its facts. Okay, 297. Ballinger was 47568. Four. No, yeah, that got it wrong, but it's correct. Temple 207. So yeah, it's just wrong though. Like it doesn't know how to do numbers. 112, 236. Oh, those are millions. Hold on. Sorry, I misread that. No, did I? No, yeah, 297,000 versus 475,000 versus 207 million. It's not in order at all. Those are not in order. It's just dumb. This is dumb. Okay, but let's think about it Python, right? Let's say, how about this? Give me a Python function that returns the name of the city and their net payment. The net payment in ascending order. Let's see if we can do this. I broke it. Yeah, it's very unstable, I'm noticing. I think this happened yesterday too. It's refreshing help. Oh, it lost the file. No. Oh. It knows about the cities now. Why is it not showing the adjusted files? Is it running or not? Okay, it is there. Get city net payments for city payment and context items. City net payments append city payment net payment sorted. You can call this function with the context information as a dictionary like this. Context, net payment, payment. Nice. Okay. Run this function on all the data in the CSV. Okay. You know, you do this data analysis with a Python notebook. I don't know why you would do this. I don't think this is how you're supposed to use it. So, not impressed, not quite there. Let's blaze through the other options. So, the CodeGPT option we wanted to look at. We'll sign into that. See if this is any better. Okay, new chat, new documents. Let's add some documents. New agent. Okay, agent 2. Agent 2, you need some files. Link chat, advanced settings. Let's go 4, and let's upload a file. Not trained, 526 tokens. It has a train on it? Interesting. AI trained. Okay. Well, maybe that's just misleading. I don't think you really trained. Okay. What city had the highest net payments? What was Berryville's net payment? Do I have to reopen it? Save agent. New chat. List all net payments. How do I tell to use the document? Trained. So if I say use the document, what happens? Use, I'll say use. You have a list of cities and their net payments. How do you use documents then? What the heck, man? Settings. It's not turned on. There we go. New chat. New chat. List the net. List the cities by their net. List all cities ordered by their net payment. This is only top 5. That's not right. Temple. Include their net payment. Include all cities, not just the top 5. They did 6. What about Berryville? What about Berryville? Now I got to 10. Is that all of them? Looks close. Yeah, that's it. Is this in order though? 207. Format as dollar amounts. Now put them in order, largest dollar amounts first. $2,237,112.47, 9,000, 8,000, 18,000, 1,000, 2,000. Oh man, you were so close. But also, is there really $1 million one or $2 million temple? 6,076. Yeah, 2 million. Who had a higher net payments? Savoy or Berryville? Berryville had a higher net payment than Savoy. Berryville's net payment was 1,000. Savoy's. Why'd she get weird with the font, dude? All right. Okay, so it makes errors. Name all the cities with a higher net payment than, let's see, and Hook. Let's see if that's correct. Temple, Donna, Alma. Temple, Donna, Annette. Ballinger. Not Annetta. Nope, you're wrong about Annetta. It was Annetta. Net payment higher than Anna Hook. No, it was not higher. Okay, so just not good for numbers, okay? And this is ChatGPT 4? No, it's not. That's why. Save agents. My bad. Let's try again. List all cities by net payment. Stop short. List all cities, not just the top 5. Daily limit reached. Okay, so that wasn't good. Now we're going to go to OpenAI. And we're going to try advanced data analysis. GPT-4, advanced data analysis. Give it a file. Downloads, partial. List all cities in ascending order by, I guess descending is better. Descending order by net payment. So first it just tells you what it's going to do. I'm going to load all the data in CSV. I'm going to inspect the structure of the data to locate the column and contain the net payment information. I'm going to sort the cities based on the net payment column in descending order. I'm going to display the sorted list. I will start by loading and inspecting the CSV file to understand structures. Let's proceed with that. Finished work. Show work. Oh, show work is awesome. It's using pandas. That's how you should analyze this data. Use pandas, not AI. But if it does it for you, then we're good. The data has been successfully loaded and the column containing the net payment information is titled net payment this period. Now we'll sort the cities by this column descending order. Boom, sorted cities, net payment, yep, pandas. Here are the top 5 cities listed in descending order by their net payment for that period is specified in the data set. Temple, and it, 237, 112, 47. So that looks correct. You would like to see more of the list or get the full list in a file? Get the full list in a file. I mean, this is uncomparable. It's not that it's ChatGPT 4. That's not why this is better. It's because it does like a workflow, like an algorithm on your file. It goes, analyze the question and the file provided and come up with steps to answer the question. It does that, then execute that using Python code. Does that. That's what's missing from the other ones. It's like, okay, I have access to data, now what? All right, where's Berryville? Oh no, it's the same problem. Berryville. Oh no, there is. Okay, phew, scared me. All right, this one looks correct. 200. Yeah, looks good. Okay, just totally different experience. So that was interesting exploration. I'm gonna call it at that. But dang, man. There's a big difference between writing a program that follows certain steps to analyze your data versus just giving it the data and just trying to query it. This is not the same thing. But let's come up with a more specific use case, I guess, and see what the right tool is for the job. All right, well, let's look at what we planned on doing. So we actually did. So we looked at the code for private GPT. CodeGPT, we tested that real quick. Connect local code to GPT API, we did that. OpenAI advanced data analysis, we did that. Can you swap out the LLMs? Yes, you can. Cool. Well, that I would call that successful. Here's how we're going to end it. As always, we're going to have some fun. This time, we're going to say, Dolly generates a comic strip that talks about how much fun we had coding together, and make it extra silly and use comic style robots. All right, here we go. We're calling it. All right, what do we come up with? Giggle, jolt, gliggle. Oh, so they're talking like robots. Coding party equals success. Nice. This is what's going to represent our stream, guys. Thank you for watching. Probably should have done this at the beginning so that we would have a tag for YouTube, or a thumbnail for YouTube, but that's fine. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.